Hey, Henry.
Well,
How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah.
Guess we're
Have
sitting.
a seat. Yeah. Okay.
How do we know each other? Did you meet me first, or did I meet you first?
Met you when I applied for a graphics poster design job at the old Video Inn on, was that Homer? No.
Yeah, there was
the
one.
old building.
The one in
In
Yale
Homer.
Town. Yeah.
Yeah. Not the newer building.
No.
we moved to, but the original one. You interviewed me and looked at my posters and went, it was kind of like, this is nice, dear. They were much more diplomatic than that.
Right.
Yeah. And then it's just like I started going to events and, you're around, and also I got to know you, and you were kind of like an important figure for me, and I learned a lot from your practice and then getting to know you. So that's how it started anyway.
So I think I would have been on Homer Street. That's when Video Ed had moved from 261 Powell Street, where we had been before.
Powell. It was Powell.
Oh, it was Powell Street.
Powell.
Oh, it was Powell Street.
Yeah, the
okay,
old building.
right. Because we were there from 1973 to like 1986 or 7.
Yeah, it was early 87.
Right. So I think I might have been interviewing you for doing the New World Asian series.
Oh, for posters?
Yes, because I actually remember I had a budget for a poster that could actually also do in color. And that was also probably the first time that we were doing a series featuring Asian American, Asian Canadian video, and targeting it for an unknown Pan-Asian audience in Vancouver. And part of that was trying to keep the whole project reaching out and using young Asian talent wherever, from the curating to the showing to the graphic design to just trying to build community. So that's probably why, because I didn't have many budgets where I could hire a graphic designer. It was all done in-house. So that's probably why I remember.
Yeah, I certainly wasn't a designer, but I've made some posters, so really badly.
Yeah. So I don't remember that.
No, that was clear. But that's okay.
But I do remember going to a number of your early art exhibits. I think one specifically was at Art Speak on Hastings Street, where you were one of the first artists that I came across that was playing with language. The Chinese language, the English language, and then later on, Chinook.
Yeah. So that was a series of paintings, and not really drawings. It was writing, I guess, appropriating my own last name, my Chinese name, my surname, my patriarchal name, Zhang, through Gushong's calligraphy, and who I had met in Banff the year before, just a few months before, because I'm illiterate and in Chinese, and I wanted someone who could actually do proper calligraphy and do a good rendition of my own last name, and then I appropriated his rendition of my own name to kind of reclaim it, and then did it in different variations on the theme, different mediums, and so forth. So that was attempt to at least learn one word in Chinese.
That's funny that you say that you're illiterate. Because of the work that you've done using Chinese and English, I've always considered myself illiterate because I can't read or write.
Okay, I can read fish, and I can read cow, and Shanghai, and China, but I can't read a sentence.
Really?
Well, yeah, because I never learned Chinese.
I just assumed that because you were so learned. I just assumed that you were. I guess in your artworks, when you play with the idea of language, when you're presenting that, it's so believable.
Huh. Okay. Well, the whole premise of that project was about my illiteracy in a way, and this word, this name, which had become foreign to me after we moved from Hong Kong to Canada. So, yeah, it's interesting. I'm surprised. I'm really surprised that you thought I could read and write Chinese. My Cantonese, Hong Kong, Guangzhou city dialect is really odd. It's really limited. I can't even understand radio or TV, let alone someone swearing. I don't know swear words. So it's that basic. And I've heard you speak some Cantonese, more Toisan.
I can, when I go to Toisan, because of course, the Loa Q are gone. We're all,
So few
we're
Toisan
all
speakers
Toisan
anymore.
speakers, even though that
Yeah.
was the dominant language. And of course, my mother was the last regular Toisan speaker.
In your family.
Right. Well, that I communicated with. So that's gone. But when I was back in Toisan in 2020, with my people and with my language, it was like within 24 hours. Boom, 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 boom. I could understand everything. So so I didn't realize that your Cantonese was the same. In the sense that, in the sense that you can speak it with your family, with people you're familiar with. But I always thought you were literate.
Oh God, no. And a lot of code switching, which is when you move from one language to the other, or multiple languages back and forth, to substitute certain words that you either don't know or are just in that language, like Hong Kong Chinese. There's so much English, right? So there's a lot of moving back and forth. Filipinos, Tagalog as well. They use a lot of English in there. When I talk to my mom, I got to go back and forth because there's a lot of words I just don't know.
So where were you born?
Hong Kong.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. But we moved when I was 3 3/4, right?
Okay.
So that's pretty early.
Right. And of course, we both grew up at a time, when it wasn't cool to be Chinese, to speak Chinese, to look Chinese, to feel Chinese, to be Chinese outside the family home. And certainly, being forced to go to Chinese school after regular school.
Did you go?
Well, most of the time I skipped out.
Oh, yeah.
I took the
You
bus
did.
fare and we. I did go, but I didn't really learn much.
Huh. Yeah, sure.
It's it's the same thing. I was also sent off to Sunday school.
Oh my God, I had to do
But
that.
that 25 cents, we took that offering and we didn't go to Sunday school.
Oh.
So there's all these kind of forced things one does, but one
Yeah.
doesn't actually, go in.
Yeah.
I would go to Sunday school. You give me that quarter or 50 cents for the offering, and off we would not go to Sunday school.
Well, I'm glad you had that option. We were stuck. My parents went to the church upstairs. We were in the basement with the other kids, and oh God, it was boring. Yeah. But I didn't go. My sister and I didn't go to Chinese school. My parents asked us, and we said, "Oh no, we don't want to go." And then they didn't push it. And me and my sister were like, "Oh, we're not being forced to? Oh, we dodged a bullet." Well, we didn't think of it that way, but we were really, really surprised. When I say this to other Chinese people, they then ask, "Do you regret it?" And given the circumstances of Vancouver we were growing up in, no, we didn't regret it. I regret not having Chinese, the ability to be literate, to be able to use more vocabulary, etc. Would have been really handy, especially now. But who would have predicted that Vancouver would be the way it is now?
I mean, I think one of the reasons, I am such an experimental and strong visual artist is that it's about creating another language. It's a visual language that doesn't have to do with text, the written word. So, for me, it's always about making work that can include, but cannot include language in that formal way. So, like you were saying, you were playing with language. I'm playing with visual language. I also play with text and words and flip them.
Yeah. Well, interesting that you refer to what I would consider more form as language, because there's different forms that are in conversation with other current contemporary forms. And yes, you certainly are somebody who pushes that envelope. You're always trying to see what the limits are for what can be expressed through whichever medium, and then pushing that medium as well as far as it can go. How at that time, because each medium, the technology for each of those mediums keeps changing, right? So and the ability to make things keeps changing. So yeah, I can identify with the use of the word language, but for me it's form more than anything else. And for me, language is the technology through which humans communicate to each other, which can also include visual, for sure. But I guess what I have kind of reluctance, I feel reluctance towards, is how with language, a word is, like, in a sense, codified. It's supposed to have a certain kind of meaning, right? Like dog is supposed to be that kind of animal. And I guess I sort of resist that for the visual, as saying, okay, this is a fixed meaning for that form, because I do think these forms, the meaning can change over time, beyond our control in many ways. Sometimes you put stuff out there and it ends up having a different meaning.
Often, being illiterate, being first generation Canadian born, depending on who was coming at me, was I too Chinese? Was I Chinese? Was I not good enough Chinese? So I've always felt that there was this judgment coming from different sectors of society based on socioeconomic and race. So, I'm proudly Chinese. I am Chinese. And I think I just did that kind of gesture. And I think, a big turning point for me was Bruce Lee. When Bruce Lee, he's my hero. He's my silent hero. When Bruce Lee entered the picture, when Bruce Lee entered the dragon, when the dragon entered and shifted the whole frame, it gave me power. People slowly stopped walking down the street, at a bar, in a classroom, on a bus, coming into a grocery store. They stopped doing this and started suddenly doing this. Wow. And I would go through doors as an invited or uninvited guest, and I would just become Bruce Lee. I am Bruce Lee, and it gave me, I am a Chinaman, I am Paul, I am Chinese, I am Bruce Lee, and it gave me the guts, the power, and the confidence to walk through a door, to walk through a bar, to sit in the front row, and to speak my truth. So that's Chinese to me.
Yeah, so interesting.
So the question, so I'm throwing the question back at you.
Well, I'm still kind of like reeling from how you, the power of mass media, and how having these positive role models can give people just a sense of agency and pride, and also shift our relative power position within society. Yeah, it's really great. I don't have the same relationship. I always found it awkward, the Bruce Lee reference, because it was just another example of not being authentically Chinese. I mean, what you just talked about, there was authenticity that you brought up as well. It's such a loaded question, right? Being Chinese. I didn't know I was Chinese until we moved from Hong Kong to Canada. Because in Hong Kong, as a little kid, I don't remember seeing non-Chinese people. There certainly were white people, and certainly were Indian people from India. But in my little world, I only recall seeing other Chinese bodies speaking Cantonese back then. But coming to Canada, all of a sudden, like, we were different, and it wasn't just language. It's just how your body feels within the space. There's the weather. There's all this extra space because Hong Kong's cramped and dense. And then the language. I didn't learn English till grade 1. I didn't get to go to kindergarten because my mom worked and my dad worked. So we were in daycare. What is Chinese? I mean, Chinese is so complex and fraught. How long did it take for me to become proud of my Chineseness? Maybe that's a different kind of question, I suppose. And I don't know when that happened, but it certainly helped for me to work on that project I talked about earlier, reclaiming my last name through Gushong's calligraphy. That for me was a personal as well as artistic kind of significant moment. And I kind of came to terms. Part of that project was trying to write my name properly, learning the 12 strokes in order, and still doing a crappy job of it because I didn't do a lot of writing in Chinese. Also have bad handwriting in English too. So yeah, I think maybe it wasn't until I was like 21 that I felt more comfortable in my own skin.
Henry,
Oh my God.
so you're an educator. So what, you're with all those young people that are born born with the internet. I mean, they came out of the womb with a touch screen phone.
Yeah.
You work with those people on a daily basis. You create curriculums for them.
Yeah. Okay, well, based on that last comment around having the tools that can really assist you in making images, sounds, text, all that stuff. I'm not even talking about AI. It's harder and harder to assess their applications when you can't really tell if they know how to draw. You can look and see and try to assess the composition, but how many of them are actually using their hand to make something that's not on a tablet? And then that line gets cleaned up by the software. And that the colors, you kind of just pick and choose based on whichever form, whichever way they're choosing their colors. They're certainly not mixing their own colors. And this is, it's just a flat image, but it's on a screen, right? And young people now are creating these moving images, whether it's animation or video or photographs or what they call digital paintings. And it's the software doing so much of the work. So you have to kind of like push that aside a bit and try to find, oh, is there an inquisitive mind here? Is there something really being explored? And so, for the future of how younger people, or younger budding artists, whether they're 17 or 55, how they develop their artistic kind of like development, the they're ways of exploring the world and expressing it in some way. I think the fundamentals are still the same. We just have to keep adapting to the tools and try to not be overwhelmed by what the tools can do, but rather what people can do with those tools. So that's the challenge as these tools get more and more sophisticated. But the result is, in the same way that design programs, you remember when PageMaker first came out and then Quark Express, right? There became very quickly a PageMaker look and a Quark look, right? And that was really the technology kind of like defining how things could be. But then you had certain designers who just still made really interesting, beautiful, and compelling gestures. I mean, what makes your work so well noteworthy on so many levels is that there's this radical sense of openness that these are subjects that you care about, that you're exploring, and this is it. You're putting it out to the world, and if you don't like it, to hell with you. But if you can identify with it, then let's have a conversation. And you're contributing to broadening and expanding the scope of whatever people think this world is that we live in. So you're always pushing those boundaries, right?
I think I'm going to answer the question more directly. Your question is, I'll give you an example. You know, in 2018, I was, as part of my artist in residency, Dr. Senya sent classical Chinese gardens and trying to expand the mandate and the vision and the community engagement of that tourist destination. One of the events I put together was the first Pride in Chinatown. Up to that first Pride in Chinatown in 2018, which the garden was very reticent about because they had no idea what that meant and who that was. You know, I put together an event that put together contemporary drag artists working in collaboration with traditional Chinese opera performers. And in traditional Chinese opera, men played women, and more recently, women played men. And that's all based on certain kinds of gestures, costuming. So it's accepted, you know, drag performances. It was an extraordinary event for the garden and for the community. It was the first time, and this is in 2018, that there was ever a loud, proud LGBTQ event with a rainbow flag. People came to that event and wept seeing a rainbow flag in Chinatown. Chinatown had never been queered. It had always been exclusionary, patriarchal, and homophobic.
There's so much more I would love to have, continue some of these conversations, and I'm still kind of in surprise mode, not shock, but in surprise mode that you thought I was literate in Chinese.
Henry, great having this conversation with you.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.